Okay, so today is a good day in terms of, it's a nice little bridge from where we're coming from in terms of algebra into where we're going in business calculus. Okay, so we kind of just step into it a little bit. It's not super tricky. We're going to do some equations today. So we need to learn that we're not going to be using x's and y's exclusively in this class. We're going to use p and q. So we use P and Q. They stand for price and quantity. So yes, I know we're not all business majors in here. I didn't know anything about price and quantity really until I taught this class. So if you're not a business major, don't feel bad. This is not out of the blue. The only unfortunate part about P's and Q's is anytime I was taught math was that we put everything in coordinate form alphabetically, but P's and Q's do not go alphabetical. Okay, P goes with Y and Q goes with X. So we have QP coordinates. So you just have to memorize that. So we'll talk about QP. I'll try and remind you all the time, hey, if it's written with P's and Q's or Q's and P's, then you need to make sure that you keep using those. Don't make them X's and Y's. So we're mainly going to use slope-intercept form. Which we should hopefully remember that is y equals mx plus b. Okay, so rather for me than remembering that I need to put q in for x and p in for y, I memorize that for slope-intercept form, it goes alphabetically left to right. So here I'm going to write p equals mq plus b. So this one does go alphabetically left to right in the equation. So again, I have a hard time visually substituting them all the time. So I can remember it's a QP coordinate, but I can't always go, well, I need to substitute this letter for this. And the last piece is slope, rise over run. So we're used to it being y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, but we need to use, again, P's and Q's. When I teach younger students, which has been a long time, a lot of students like to read up to down, left to right. At least American students do. And you typically wanted to put the X's on the top and the Y's on the bottom because alphabetically that's how it would go. Well, again, that's how it's going to work with P's and Q's. So the P's are going to be on the top and the Q's are going to be on the bottom. Okay, but they don't like to use 2 and 1. They want to use 1 and 0. So we're going to do P1 minus P0 and Q1 minus Q0. And if you've taken any biology classes, then you're used to using what they call P naught and Q naught. Okay, it's just a different number designation. If you use 2s and 1s, that would be fine. I don't have a problem with that. Just realize that you're going to see in the text 1s and 0s. Okay, so the first example, and this is how it'll look when you get to the problems, by the way. Even though the example in the book has a bunch of written words, they're going to give you 2 coordinates. Okay. The hard part, again, is to make sure to use QP. Now, sometimes in web work, it might use X and Y, so do be careful. The nice part about web work, because we've had lots of glitches, there are things that can go wrong. Originally, Father May, one of the people who wrote the textbook, put the problems in. Then we had a math student work on fixing those. And then Father May tried to fix them again over the summer. So there might be a glitch or 2 still in the web work system. But I still haven't set a, hey, you get 5 tries and then try again. On the homework, you get unlimited tries, okay? So some students get really frustrated and they'll email me and they're like, I know I did it right. You know, you might check on a website and go, well, hey, I swear I did this right. And then it's just because you didn't use Q and you were using X. So just be careful. Sometimes you use Q and it had X. So it can be as simple as that. All right, so we're going to start with finding the slope of this because we're eventually going to find the equation of the line. Okay, so we're going to do 15 minus 10 over 110 minus 150. Okay, we're dealing with the business world. The numbers aren't going to be nice. We're going to get some not nice fractions when we're doing them. Okay, so we're going to get 5 over negative 40, and that simplifies to negative 1/8. Okay, so on web work, it will take fractions. If you're rounding fractions, it's not really going to like that because you're going to eventually have to round another fraction later on. So you can keep with the fractions, or you can try and put decimals in there, whatever you want to do. We're going to finish this out with fractions, just because there are problems in there where the fractions aren't nice. Everybody's not going to get the same problem. You're going to get different iterations. So there are going to be different numbers for every person in the classroom. Okay? So you might get one that doesn't work out nicely. So again, I'm going to recommend to use P equals MQ plus B. And this is how I do it. If you want to do it with point slope and you're comfortable with point slope and then work it into slope intercept, do it that way. Okay, whatever way you're comfortable, as long as I can see your work and you get to the correct answer, I don't have a problem with it. This is how I teach it in intermediate algebra and college algebra. So what I like to do is then plug in the slope, negative 1/8 Q plus B, and then I pick one of the 2 points to plug in. It doesn't matter which one, okay? Most of the students will pick the first one listed. So we're going to put in 150, 10. Make sure that you put them in the correct order, okay? So remember that this is a Q and this is a P. So 10 goes on the left and 150 goes right here. I have made the mistake of putting them in the wrong way. It happens to everyone. Okay. So this turns into 10. This simplifies into negative 75 over 4 plus B. Okay, so if you're not one that likes to add and subtract fractions, you're not really good at doing it on your calculator. Some people are really good at that. Another way that I teach students is to get rid of the fractions because nobody likes working with fractions. So we're going to take the bottom of this and we're going to multiply the whole equation by 4. So I'm going to get 40 equals negative 75 plus 4b. And then now it's a regular algebraic equation, and you'll get a fraction for your answer, but you don't have to really work with fractions, which is really nice. So I add 75 and I divide by 4, and I get 115 over 4 equals b. So I get y equals negative 1/8. Oops, let me go back. 1/8, not y equals, first day. Y, p equals, this is p equals negative 1/8 q plus 115 over 4. This is also negative 0.125 if you went that route, and this is 28.75. Okay, I'm not picky on a quiz or a test. Okay, so you can choose either way. All right, so the next problem is example 113. So let me show it to you on here for those of you in the classroom real quick. And it's nothing super tricky, okay? So it just tells us there's a fixed cost of 400, a per unit cost of 11. Find the equation on the line and the cost of making 200 widgets. So nothing over the top. Okay, so I'm gonna write that we have a fixed cost of $400 and a per unit of 11. So unlike example 2 where we had coordinates, this one we don't have coordinates. Okay, so we're gonna have a cost equation, and we'll get into cost when we get further into chapter 1. So we'll revisit this. So again, A asks for the equation of the line. When you get into web work, if you have one like this, they're going to give you the left side. So they give you C equals, and you fill in the rest. Okay? So anything that's a per unit, that's the one that takes the variable. Again, they want you to use quantity, not X. And then a fixed cost is always a plus or a minus, depending on what we're talking about. So it costs $400. So we're going to add 400 to every unit. And then B, if the quantity is 200, how much does it cost? Then you just plug that in. 11 times 200 plus 400. So nothing hard. 400 plus, don't ask me why I wrote this backwards, but that's okay. And I get $2,600. Okay, probably the only label we're really going to run into in this class is a dollar sign. I'm a stickler for labels, but there aren't a lot of labels in this course, like I said. But if something takes a dollar sign, I assign a point for every dollar sign that is needed. So there's, you know, maybe 1 or 2 on a test at most. Okay, so if I'm asking for something that is money, you want to put a dollar sign with it. Okay, so the other 2 problems I want to go through are going to be more like what you'll see on the homework because they're 3-part problems. That's what it's like on the classwork. So they gave you an equation like this, 4p P or 7P minus 4Q plus 14 equals 0. Okay. So the first thing they're going to ask is, what's the slope? Okay, so we've already done it a couple times, but again, slope-intercept, when you have P, is you're just gonna solve for P. Okay, so we're gonna solve everything for P. So I'm gonna start by taking these two pieces and moving them to the right-hand side by adding them. So 7P equals 4Q plus 14, and then I'm going to divide by 7. So 4/7 Q plus 2. So either M equals or slope equals 4/7. On web work, you're just going to put 4/7 in the box. So no big deal. B is going to ask for the intercepts. Okay, so one of them is already there for you. Super easy. The P-intercept is already there because we solved for P. So the P-intercept is 0, 2. The other one we're going to have to make actually, I think that's, no, that's the Q-intercept, sorry. I was like, we're in the Q spot. Q-intercept. I don't think it's gonna matter. I think they just ask for both intercepts and you list them. So I'm not gonna make you label them either. So the other one, so we, again, you have Q is 0, so we're gonna need to then set P is 0. So I like to go back to the original equation because there aren't any fractions to deal with. So you're welcome to use the slope-intercept equation. I find it easier to use the other one. So I'm gonna add 14 and divide by -4, and I get a -7/2. So -7/2, 0. So again, I think it's just a list. All right. Then we're going to move on to 19. Okay, let me show you number 19. Okay, so there are two problems, I believe, on web work that look like this. So they're written very similarly, okay, with big numbers like this. They ask for the equation of the line. Okay, so they give you $23 for price, 4783 for widgets. Until I took this course, I went, what's a widget? I don't know what a widget is. It's just a unit that you're creating. So whatever your quantity is, it's a widget. So just for those that haven't taken it, don't feel bad. I'm like, I don't know what that is. So, and then you have our price 27 and then 42.95. So let me show you how we're going to do this one. So again, I like to write down what I know. Okay, I know that the price is 23, and with $23 is 4783 widgets. Okay, careful though, because we again have a QP coordinate. So it goes 4, 7, 8, 3, comma 23. And then I have a $27 price with 4295 widgets. So again, the big number ends up going first. To me, that's counterintuitive. I always think the small number should go first. So just be careful. Okay, so first thing I have to do is find slope. Okay, so I'm going to take the bottom one here. I'm going to do 27 minus 23 over 4295 minus 4783. Okay, one thing you can check if you're unsure because you're kind of bouncing all around your paper is these two numbers should be on top of each other. So they should be in the back. These two should be on top of each other again. So if for some reason you're like, hey, I'm not quite sure, I feel like maybe this is wrong, just because the numbers are kind of all over the place again, you can double check. Okay, so we get 4 over negative 488, which is not a nice number. You can reduce it to 1 over negative 122. Okay, but because of how gigantic it is, WebWork does want you to round it. Okay, and let me show you the not so nice decimal we get. We get 0.081967213. Okay, I'm gonna assume that nobody's worked with WebWork. And WebWork is really picky about rounding and how many digits. Okay, I always recommend 5. So go to 4 or 5 and type it in. Sometimes when we're in Excel, we copy and paste just because we don't even want to deal with it. So I'm going to round this to 5 digits, which actually ends up being 4. So I'm going to make this 0.0082. So if you're worried about rounding, you're like, hey, I swear I did it right. I think there's a rounding issue. You can always email me and say, hey, can you check my problem? I don't have a problem with that. Okay, so be careful when you get to the problem on WebWork because it's going to ask you one of 2 ways to type this in. Okay, it depends on which problem you're on. It's either going to ask you to write it in this form, P equals M, Q minus Q, naught plus P naught, or P minus P naught, so this is point slip. Okay, so you definitely need to check which one is it asking for. Okay, we're gonna write both of them out for this problem. Okay, so I'm gonna just stick with the first one here. That's the one I'm gonna plug in. Okay, there's no calculations left, we just have to plug it in. So P equals 0.0082, Q minus the Q coordinate, which is the first one, 4783, plus P naught, which is 23. Oops, I don't need that last piece. So that's the first one. So one of the problems will look like that. Or both of them. So just be careful. Or it could look like the other one where it says P minus P naught, P minus 23 equals, we're just going to copy down what we had above, 0082, Q minus 4783. I am not going to ask you on a quiz or a test to write it like that. Okay, so it's only on these word problems that it's going to ask you to write it that way. Any questions on that? Okay.